Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all. So we are heading back to Adventure Aquarium once again. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to Lauren Belcher's episode last week, this one kind of starts off right after it. So it is a clean break. This is a different episode with a very different tone than last week's, eventually. But if you listened to last week's and all of the goofiness that reigned supreme, we definitely launched right into this interview, having a good old time. And as you'll hear, there was a shift in tone early on in the episode. It was a lot of fun the entire time, though. So yeah, this week is another one of those episodes with someone who I know, who I consider a friend. Sam Ehinger is a biologist at Adventure Aquarium. And she has a really interesting and unique position because she does quarantine biologist work, meaning she is behind the scenes, and she kind of has her own little mad scientist's lab and gets to do all kinds of stuff with animals that aren't on display at the moment. So it's a really interesting conversation about her looking at those animals and seeing them rotate and figuring out how to take care of them, and then, you know, seeing what happens to them after the fact. I think it's a really cool, really unique position. And we also talk a lot about leadership and some other stuff. And I don't know, I just really like this one. I like Sam. She's a cool human. So I'm excited for y'all to hear this one. Quick reminder before we get into it to make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes. Make sure that you are following along on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky at Rossifari and at TikTok on Rossifari Pod. And don't forget that you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. So with all that said, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Sam Ehinger of Adventure Aquarium. You're an idiot. All right.
That's fair.
So let's start off by you telling me who you are, where we are, and what you do here.
Yep. Thanks so much for having me. But I'm Sam Ehinger, and I am at Adventure Aquarium, which is... Wait, that sucked. Hold on. Let me start over.
I'm leaving all of this in. I'm so happy right now.
So, hi, I'm Sam Ehinger. I'm a biologist at Adventure Aquarium. We're in Camden, New Jersey, right across the river from Philly, which is where I grew up. And I love working here.
Nice. That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
And you'll notice, listeners, that now that's 3 people in a row at Adventure Aquarium who, when they said they're in Camden, pointed out that we're across the river from Philly and turned their head away from the microphone. 3 in a row.
It's beautiful. It's the best view of Philly.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wildly distracting, but in the best way. Yeah. Last time that we recorded episodes here, Lauren stuck me in this little mini office, and I could barely breathe. I could barely see. I was like, knees were hitting the knees of my guests, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying the upgrade. But okay, so before we get into your story, just so my listeners know, we're buds. We've known each other for a while now, just through socials, and we've connected through that. We've talked about a lot of random stuff.
Yeah, a lot of animal stuff.
Yep. Very, very appreciative of that. And it's really funny to me when I meet like virtual friends in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you walked in and shook my hand, and I was like, hi, because we are meeting, but also I talked to you for like a couple years now.
Back and forth,
And like, because you're pretty open on social media, like I literally I know the places you like to hang out,
Yeah.
and I know your boyfriend, and I know like all of this stuff. And I'm also
Mexican
like,
food is my favorite.
yes, I know this. And I'm like, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah,
This is weird. Yeah. It's always so strange too. Even like, I mean, look, I'm just going to put this out there. You're pretty obsessed with your hair.
Oh yeah.
And you came in and your hair was done and you've been playing with it. And like, normally that doesn't distract me, but I'm like, oh, that's her hair.
That's my thing.
She likes to talk about her hair and her butt. Although we're not going to do that on the podcast.
No. I work hard for both. So,
yes, good. Yes. It's so interesting though, how like this world that we're in now, you can meet someone and know someone. And like, I would trust you if you sent me a thing, saying, hey, did you see this? Or, hey, this is happening. I would be like, oh yeah, of course. You wouldn't lie to me about this.
And I'm not trying to scam you at all.
Yeah. It's so strange, but nice to finally see you.
Nice to finally meet you. I think that's the beauty of social media. You can really see the person, see what they want to show and their fun, intimate sides. And then you connect with them over that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've gotten a lot of connections over my love for animals. I'm sure you have too. And people will send you the same clip of the red pandas 14 times in a row. And I love it. I don't care.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Keep sending
Every
it to
time
me.
I'm like, oh, this is adorable. Oh, this is still adorable. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh, this video is making its rounds again? Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Okay, we can do that.
I love so much that we just got a text that we're being too loud. Yeah. We're having too much fun.
Being too fun. Okay.
Too fun.
Okay, we'll be more conscious.
Yes.
Don't make me laugh too hard. I have a very loud laugh.
I do too. It's a problem. Yes, it's a problem. So you are a Philly person.
Yes.
And did you always know that you wanted to work with animals?
I think so. From a very young age, I was obsessed with going down the shore. Shark Week was, definitely a big factor in trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a living. And then one day I was just like watching these documentaries because that was the main way you could see ocean animals, was on TV. And I was like, wow, I could learn about this for the rest of my life and never get bored. And the thought of being bored in my adulthood with my career, with a job, was that scary that I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my goal.
Nice.
And, I went to school in South Carolina. So I went to school at Coastal Carolina University, which was a lovely place, right near the beach. We had this cool research island and everything. And I just kind of learned all the aspects of what I could do with it and where I could go. It wasn't just, TV shows on the water. I was I think I'm in this. Yeah. And then I moved back home when I graduated just as like a normal step. And this was my first job. I got out of school and I've been here for 10 years.
That's insane.
10 years.
That's amazing.
Feels
really
like a
cool.
blink of an eye.
So how did you start? Like, what was your first role here?
So I got hired as a bio aide, which is kind of like our entry level, for lack of a better word, assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And you're learning how to be a full-time biologist. So you would help out the gallery biologists doing their day-to-day, learning from them, assisting them, and then kind of gathering all your knowledge to be able to run your own gallery. So I did that for a couple of years, made my way up to a bio 1, did that for a couple of years, worked in a lot of galleries here. Like sometimes I'll stop and I'll be like, oh yeah, I used to take care of that. Oh yeah, I had those ones. Yeah. I've gotten to the point where I tell those stories that people don't believe. They're like, we didn't have that, Sam. I'm like, we did. Yeah. And we used to feed it this way. And then I became a bio 2. So now I'm kind of at like the top level of being a biologist without being essentially in management. Mm-hmm. So for me, an incredible achievement. I feel so fortunate, but also like, I work really hard.
Yeah.
You hustle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just some of the animals that I've gotten to work with, I never would have imagined working with, let alone even knew existed. Sometimes I even have to Google things. I'm like, what is that called? Like, where's that found?
Yeah.
Such as, I'll say giant spider crabs.
Okay. Yeah.
That was like a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that thing is huge. And what does it do? What does it eat? Is it thinking?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of fall in love with those animals, those ones that are just so unique and weird and bizarre. And then you search for other ones that you want to work with.
That's your thing, right? Like that is your niche, is like weird animals.
Things you learn from social media. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I want every animal to have someone that's obsessed with it and loves it, because I think every animal is worthy of being loved. And I love finding people who are like, oh my God, I love praying mantis. And I'm like, yeah, here's 40 videos of cool praying mantis. My thing would be spiders. Yeah.
Yes, I am very aware.
Oh yeah. Spiders are the moment right now for me. But I originally started out with sharks, you know, because you see all the scary media driven mania behind being afraid of sharks. And I was like, I'm not afraid of that. That thing is awesome. And I kind of slowly started to be like, I think I'm going to try to educate people on not being afraid of sharks by just being a normal person about it. Yeah. And answering questions and being like, listen, if I'm not going to get bitten, you're not going to get bitten, because my chances are higher, in air quotes, than yours. Yeah.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Very cool. What area are you working over now? Like what string, I guess, would be the term?
Gallery, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Area would probably be fine too. Yeah. I am in charge right now of our quarantine building.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
That's
fun. I was a cool, level to reach. Was just being like, all right, we trust you enough that we're going to put you in charge of the vulnerable, the quarantine, the new, and kind of let you do your thing. You know, we have a lot of protocols in place. So I've had to learn to get up to that level. But then from there, it's just knowing a lot about the fish and what's coming in. But so I have a bunch of large systems that have anything from animals that might have been pulled off exhibit because they're going through treatment, or animals that we might have just received that are going to be added to our collection, that are going through our quarantine procedure to make sure that they don't, for lack of a better word, infect our animals in-house already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a lot.
That's really cool.
A lot of feedings, a lot of watching.
Yeah. And I guess a constantly rotating cast of characters.
Yeah. Again, always finding new fish that I'm like, what is that? What is the purpose of that? And then, or finding right now I take care of the cutest little bird wrasse. And every morning I wish you could see the wiggle that it does to say, in my mind, it says good morning, even though I know it's like, feed me, yeah. That just delights me.
Nice.
And who would have thought this 3-inch bird wrasse would be the highlight of my morning as I'm sipping my morning coffee and doing rounds.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I love that. I judge slightly that your morning coffee is Dunkin', but
that's okay.
It's fine.
I will accept that judgment. Just, you know what? You don't have to drink
it. But no, that's really cool. And one thing that I love, and that's shining out as you say it, is that you seem to have a real sense of pride about where you're at, both in terms of being at Adventure and it being your position.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's you hear, I'm sure you hear this a lot too with your drumming and your podcast and doing what you do. But a lot of people will come up to me and be like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And I'm like, I hear that all the time. I love that because then we can connect about it. But it is such a point of pride that I set out to do this and I'm doing it. And I think that you've got to be grateful for the things that you've achieved. Mm-hmm. You can't always be trying to achieve the next thing. Sometimes you just have to sit and enjoy and look at just how amazing you're doing.
Yeah.
And I worked really hard for this. And when I started, and especially when I meet people starting out, I'm like, girl, I didn't know anything. I thought I was doing well in school. And then I came here and they taught me everything I need to know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's really great. I think it's funny. I go back and forth a lot on this, the topic of luck, because I do think there is some luck in a career. Mm-hmm. In tracing my own career, I literally landed a gig because a drummer backed out after I want to say 15 years in the position.
Oh my gosh.
And it happened to be at a time when I didn't have another gig, when I was always gigging. And it launched the real professional part of my career.
Yeah.
Literally the music director I worked with on that then took me on my first national tour, changed everything. So there was that element of luck, but I had also worked my butt off to be the guy that got the call when that guy stepped away.
Yeah.
And then I showed up and slayed with no rehearsal because I literally left in this process. And it was from day one, nailed it because I was prepared. So I did put in the work. And I hate when people say, oh, you're lucky, because no, I crushed. I worked hard to be that guy and earned it. But also totally, if that dude hadn't stepped away, I wouldn't have met that music director. And I don't know what I would be doing. I don't know if I'd be doing this podcast because touring and going to facilities is what made me interested in that and all of that. It all stemmed from that, which was luck, but also.
But you were poised to strike.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't going to give up any opportunity that was luckily handed to you or just opened up its arms.
Yeah. It's an interesting balance.
I think like it's nice to celebrate those lucky parts because most people do turmoil and, get rejected or give up or have to change course, change path, reevaluate. So that's not the norm. So every now and then, like, yeah, I do feel grateful that my luck was that I didn't have to intern here. I just happened to call at the right time and they were, hey, you sound pretty smart. We're just going to pull you on board. And I was like, very lucky in that aspect because most people will have to volunteer or they will intern or they will hop around facilities. So that is my luck story. But my prideful point is like the luck paid off because you ended up with a really good investment. You're getting 10 years, you're getting good years out of me.
Yeah.
And so I never hesitate when people ask me like, how did you get this job? I'm like, well, it was a little bit of luck. There was no drummer that stepped down, but like I must've been on the tail end of the interviews and they were like, you know what, she's local and let's just give her a chance. And
yeah, all of those things can be factors, but then it's up to you to show up and do well.
Because I could have, they could have been like, all right, you're not working out after 1 year, but I took that opportunity and ran with it. And this is going to sound like such a plug. I love this place. I really do.
Yes.
And even when it annoys me, even when my alarm goes off, I'm still like, this is the best job I'm ever going to have. And I'm going to look back on this when I'm 70 and be like, wow, you did that. Remember when you led shark procedures? Remember when you went down to the Keys for work? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. Yeah. This is a great facility. It's cool that we have so many great places in this area in general. And it's been, being a fan first and coming here and being a member before the podcast was a thing. And now, having met so many of the animals and I guess the people, whatever, but like, it's really trippy to like, every time I come here, be like, oh, hi, Jenny. Hi, Button. I hung out with you. Oh, hey, Stitches. I love you. I miss feeding you, and like all the things when like, I used to just come here and be blown away just to be here, and I still love just like, I'll come on a day where I won't see anyone I know or go behind the scenes or anything. And I'm still just like happy as a clam.
And you still enjoy it. That's awesome wonderful to hear. Yeah. Cause we see the same things over and over again. And sometimes new things will come in and excite us, but like, I always try to look at it from a guest perspective and like, how cool is this place? If you come here twice a year, are you being blown away? Are you loving what you're seeing? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
That's the best part.
All these years later, and I still get mad when kids are sitting in the cool viewing windows where I can be seeing sea turtles. I get it. They're cool photo ops, but come on, people. I want to look at turtles.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love when parents apologize for their kid running into me, even though I fully know, like, I know that kid's so excited to be here because I would be excited to be here. And there's no spatial boundaries when that happens. I'm just running to see the next thing.
Yeah.
So I always look at the parents like, I don't care. I'm excited that they're having a wonderful time. And I hope that your kid grows up to love these things. Do they want to be a marine biologist? Let's go chat. Do they want to start, working for other organizations that help animals? Amazing. But most of your first love comes from visiting aquariums at a young age or going down the Jersey Shore for me. That would be my thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. And it's funny you said the kind of marine biologist and how people always want to do that because weirdly, and I only recently found out this was a thing. So I'm curious if this is something that you saw too. But weirdly, we had career day in middle school and for 3 years in a row, we had a marine biologist there.
Yeah.
And I think half of our class wanted to be marine biologists. And I always thought it was just some weird thing that, okay, a marine biologist clearly was like the parent of one of the kids at the school or had some connection.
That'll be me someday. Yeah.
But I saw a thing online recently that was like, if you grew up in this era, if you grew up in this era, then you had a marine biologist at career day. And I still don't understand why. And I was like, that's real. Like that. I don't know if you encountered that, but apparently this was just a thing where marine biologists were just doing career days at middle schools when I was growing up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like what would have been the funny TV show at the time that would have made everybody into it. Like when Jurassic Park came out, everybody wanted to be a paleontologist, right? Yeah. But yeah, or maybe the career days, they were just like, all right, we're done with like the lawyers. Like we know what a lawyer is. You know, there's 7 Law and Order shows, even though they're amazing.
Yeah.
Let's bring in something else. And yeah.
Yeah, it was just so weird. I always thought it was like this weird thing at like Mechanicsburg High School. And then I saw this post and I was like, the whole world was just learning about marine biology in middle school? Oh,
that's
okay.
That's my favorite thing about social media is finding that little connection that connects every single person born your year, or every single person that's ever ordered French fries feels this way. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think I had a marine biologist, but we did have in my high school a marine biology class.
Whoa, nice.
And I went to North Penn, which is a big suburb school out here in Pennsylvania. And I remember taking that, and it was a fun class, but I do remember being like, oh, I know most of this already, because I was interested in it,
right. Yeah.
But one of the big things we did was we came here on a field trip.
Nice.
I barely remember that because I don't know about anybody else. I don't remember anything from high school, other than waking up and prom. But I do remember that being part of the curriculum. So I just think the odds were ever in my favor to work here and to end up here from a young age.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. I love that. So yeah, I know whenever I play venues that like I went to concerts at as a kid, I was like, oh, this is so cool.
This feels special.
Yeah. I don't think I told this story on the podcast, but just a quick kind of funny story. So the first time that I played the Kirby Center in Wilkes-Barre, that is where my whole family is from. Oh. Okay. And it's like the touring house up there. And I called my grandfather, and he was a very nice, very supportive man, but also, didn't fully understand the drumming career. Yeah. And I was like, yo, Poppy, check this out. I'm playing the Kirby. Right now, you have to understand, when I was like a teenager and was like hesitant to spend a weekend visiting my grandparents instead of hanging out with friends and stuff, one of the ways that they got me to visit was whenever there was an artist I liked at the Kirby, they would buy me tickets. It was like straight up bribery. It was brilliant.
Oh my God.
I saw amazing concerts, and now I'm playing this thing.
Wow.
Right. So like, to me, this is a big deal. So I'm like, Poppy, you're not going to believe this, but I'm playing the Kirby. Y'all are going to come see me play the Kirby. And truly innocently, truly just curiously, he was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a weird reaction. And he goes, are you going to like in the lobby before like one of the shows? Like sometimes I know they hire like local bands and stuff. And I was like, no, I'll be on the stage. And then he got really excited and kind of understood it more. But like, yeah. But yeah, those moments are always just cool. Like to go from a field trip to now being the person talking to the kids and watching most of their eyes glaze over, but then catching that one. that looks a little like, more excited. Oh, tell me more.
Or that one that where you see the light bulb connect or the light bulb turn on. You're like, oh yeah. No, that's wonderful because you'll always be able to cherish that moment. Like that's your special moment. I love hearing about those things. I'll say one of my special moments was, about our shark and ray encounter here. So when it first came out, my sister, who's 7 years older than me, won it on a radio contest, right? Called in early in the morning, and she won it. So she got to do it when it first opened up. So I can't even picture, like, I don't even know if Google was around for me to even picture what this adventure was, but she was like, I got in the water with sharks. I was like, I'm doing that. But I was 14, so I was like, okay, when I turn 18, my mom promised that we would do it. I never ended up doing it because I went away to college and, continued with my life. And now I do it every single Saturday and I get paid to do it. Like that wasn't even part of the plan. The part of the plan was for me to enjoy that. And now I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. I do this every Saturday for 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
The music that I tour is music that I grew up listening to.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's music that I literally love playing and love sharing. And like, I just wanted to be a drummer. I would go play for a band that I hate if it meant that I could be a touring drummer. Yeah. And instead I do what I love growing up. And it's very, very trippy to realize sometimes.
It's possible. Like, that's the best part. It's possible. And it's possible to show people that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. So let's talk about some of the animals that you're currently taking care of.
Okay. Yeah. So what do we got? So I told you about the bird wrasse, which I think is so adorable. It's really fun to see these, like, for lack of a better word, ornamental fish come in, because like they're just like your normal reef, beautiful Indo-Pacific fish that you see when you watch those documentaries, but to see them develop these like little personalities, like who would have thought a fish, smaller than my hand would be, okay, that one hides a lot. So I know that that one, is going to be in the corner and I got to wait for it to come out and warm up to me in the morning. So I love that aspect of those fish that I take care of. And then right now I have a couple of really awesome juvenile baby stingrays, I guess baby stingrays that were born here. So they're still growing up, they're significantly smaller than any stingray we have out in the public. But like, what? Are you kidding me? Babies? Like everybody loves babies. Yeah. So right now I take care of a couple of those. So feeding them, getting to know their habits and patterns and making sure that they grow up to be a cute, successful stingray, is probably the highlight of my day. What else do I take care of? I have one of our juvenile brown sharks out in our huge quarantine building. So I'm going to say facility and building. I'm kind of going to go back and forth, but it's just a building right, kind of like on campus, but it's outside of the public space that you would see. So I kind of feel like it's my own little office, my own little world. It's a little messy, so no offense, Lauren. I am more of a messy keeper or messy biologist than a normal person. But I have a juvenile brown shark out there that was also born in-house, and it's cool to see that thing grow. Cause like I swim with its mom all the time or dive with its mom all the time.
That's awesome.
So I always like to circle back and remember what animals I wanted to originally work with. And that was sharks. Mm-hmm. So being able to do this full circle and work with these sharks and rays is incredible. Yeah. I'm trying to think, what else do I have? I have the Goliath grouper that we got from Mississippi Aquarium. I think so. So sometimes an aquarium might not be able to house something because their facility's too small, the regulations change, there's a bunch of factors, and I don't remember why we got the Goliath, but we got this small Goliath grouper. And he's called Mr. T, and he lives in a trash can, which sounds terrible, but it's a clean trash can made to be a piece of, refuge for him. So we call him Mr. T, and he just looks like this grumpy old man, but he's a teenage Goliath grouper, and he'll get to be a couple 100 pounds.
That's awesome.
Even if I don't see him or her, I'm not sure. Even if I don't see it get put on exhibit, because say, it's a couple of years, maybe I've moved on from here, maybe I've in another position or gallery. But if I get to come back and see that thing on exhibit with my kids or my friends or something, like that's the best part.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Pointing at something and being like, I put that in there. Yeah. And like sometimes I'll whisper out behind people. I'll be like, yeah, I just fed that. Like I put that in there. And some people are receptive and other people will be like, I don't care. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fine. Enjoy your day. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But yeah. So the quarantine is kind of cool because you really do see the whole full circle of getting fish or new fish and introducing them to the collection we have.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is it hard not being able to build a connection like as long-term with the animals as you did previously?
I thought it was going to be because I've definitely worked in a lot of different galleries where I felt really big connections with the animals. Mm-hmm. Like I worked with the octopuses for years, and that was the best. That was the surprise of a lifetime that I will talk about for the rest of my life. And I built strong connections with them, but it's also just like understanding that these things are moving on to something else, mm-hmm. like they're going to their ultimate goal, which would be on exhibit for everybody to enjoy, not just for me to enjoy. So I like that. That's like a point of pride. For me, it'd be like sending your kids to college. Like, it's like, oh, go ahead, go be productive. Like I helped get you there, and then just, yeah, I don't feel like I really cry anymore about it. No, I've never cried about it. No, it's like, I thought it would be a lot harder than it is, but for me, it's just a point of pride.
That makes sense, especially since they're still like here.
Yeah, they're still here.
I assume that like SSP transfers and stuff are harder, although also, they're from a good place and you know that. But,
yeah. I think it probably gets a little bit easier, but I haven't had to do any of those, so I can't speak to that.
Nice.
I'm trying to think. I feel like we've sent a couple animals here to other exhibits, and I've gotten to see them in those other exhibits, and that is awesome. Again, I'm whispering behind people and, wherever they're at, like, yeah, I put that And they're like, who are you?
Weirdo, go away.
I'm from Camden, which is across the river from Philly. And they'll be like, I still don't care, please. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I'm amazed. I spend so much time at zoos and aquariums and I'll, I know a lot of the animals and I will talk about a lot of the animals and all the things. And yeah, I'll hear a guest say something and I'll just be like, oh, actually that's a male, or, oh, nope, that's actually full grown, or whatever the thing is. And sometimes they're like, oh, cool. What else? And it's named this, blah. And then other times they're like, no, honey, this is a baby panda.
Yeah.
And they walk away and I'm like,
okay.
No, it's big. Oh, I'm going to put my headphones in. I'm glad they're noise canceling.
I stopped correcting people when it comes to venomous versus poisonous, because it just got to the point where I was like, I don't care. I was like, I understand what you're meaning, and I'm not trying to teach you anything. This isn't a lecture. There's no quiz later.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say would be like, if you asked me like, how does this post look? I'd be like, it's actually venomous, not poisonous.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Because it's just, of course, Lauren, you have the actual route. Yeah. But like it happened the other night. I was like chatting with my boyfriend and my roommate, and they were like both in agreement that something was poisonous. And they were like, yeah, like, right. Like that snake. And that they looked at me and I was like, no, it's venomous. I just didn't want to correct you, because at this point it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Like, unless you're going on like a TV show to be scientific, like it's fine. Yeah.
Right.
But it is funny to hear what people think animals are. I'm sure you see it all the time.
Oh yeah. It's always entertaining. I always like to say, I don't go to zoos and aquariums with other people too often. They're very much my happy space. So I have to like really know you and like you and trust you. Like I'll be on tour and people will be like, what are you doing today? And I'll lie, because what I don't want to say is I'm going to the zoo and then have them say, oh, I'll come.
Oh, let me come with you.
And then spend the entire time not understanding animals and asking me, well, why is this okay or whatever? Or even just like, I don't know, they're just my happy place. Yeah. If I take you to a zoo or aquarium, I like you.
Yeah.
But the other reason why is because I can put in my noise canceling headphones and just not hear as much. Yeah. It helps. Although it's harder to do that here because the music that plays at the aquarium slaps.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the soundtrack up top is so good. I get so annoyed during the holiday season when it's not just the normal like Adventure Aquarium theme.
It's so tuned out to me sometimes. But every now and then I'll catch myself bobbing or walking to the beat. But I will say this, I love engaging with children about animals, because I think they come from a point of being like so excited to learn, that when I would correct a child, because I'd be like, I want you to sound like the smartest person in the room.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like sharing info. I just don't like my big issue. And this is why I stopped teaching drum lessons years ago for the same reason. I don't like when people don't share my passion. If I'm talking to someone, or if someone's at an exhibit and it's like, oh, cool, look, they have sea turtles. I wish I knew more, or something, they say something like that. I will dive in, like full on, like put on the scuba gear and go.
Yeah.
Like we are talking, because they're excited and they want to learn and they want to know. And that's cool. I'm happy to do that. It's the people who share information to just show that they're superior knowledge and they're wrong and they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And I don't like to do that.
I like it when people share my passion. So kids are passionate most of the time. Yeah. I'll talk to a lot of kids, and I'm not a big kid person. Like I have one, and that's kind of the only one that I really like.
Yeah.
But like, again, if that passion is there, I will go all day, happily. But yeah, when somebody's just like,
I think to go back to your engaging with trolls online, it's very similar in that aspect. Like, that's fine. Yeah,
you just read the person as best as you can.
And if you want to have a cool, awesome conversation about animals, then we can do that. Yeah. And I'm only going to be scientific and factual. Yeah. And sometimes I'm going to say, you know what? I got to Google that. It's like, I can't remember everything.
No. Yeah. God, no. Yeah.
But I do love, I'm sure you get this too, when people will send me things online or text me and ask me questions. And like, then I'll be like, oh, actually, blah, blah, blah. And that, I love that, because that means that in their head, that's what they associate me with. Same thing with getting elephant charms over here, Lauren. Like if you send me a cool spider video or a shark or an octopus and you're like, is this real? I'll be like, yeah, I've seen similar, or I've never seen this, but I've heard that.
Yeah.
I love connecting with people that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I literally the other day had somebody meet me for the first time who knew of the pod and everything and looked at me and heard my name and you could see it register. And she went, "The red panda drummer guy?" And I was like,
yes.
"Oh, yes, those are my things. Yes. I have some other things too, but those are my things." And it's really cool when that happens. Yeah.
Like you can call me that. Yeah.
I'm good with that. Yeah. Also John, but red panda drummer works. I'm good.
Sam's fine, but yeah. Hey, that's spider chick who loves Mexican food. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So let's talk about when I talked to Colleen, which would be 2 episodes ago now, we talked a little bit about the current octopus here.
Oh, yes.
But it was part of a conversation that got into frogs and stuff and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm wondering, especially since you've spent so long with the various octopuses or octopodes or
whatever you want.
How, what your thoughts are. And can you just tell me about your journey with these incredible creatures? Before you do, just so you know, I spent multiple times visiting with Jupiter. So I knew Jupiter and it wasn't like a quick hang. It was, we were friends.
Oh, Jupiter.
That was amazing. So just as we talk about the different things, but tell me from your first time working with an octopus and all that. Jupiter all day long. I would get a tattoo of Jupiter.
When I first started, I was working under one named Ravioli, I believe.
Oh,
yes, which is such a cute name. And that was my first time even seeing an octopus, let alone even knowing anything about it. And I was rightfully terrified because I was like, what is this thing? And why can it grab onto me? So I think, I just kind of learned with much more exposure and understanding it. And I got more comfortable with Ravioli. And then I got thrown into being the main caretaker of the octopuses. And I believe my first one was Octavia. And she was a young female. And she was the best octopus I could ever imagine working with. First, she was very gentle. She was fun. She was exciting. And it was just like a nice ease into it. And I got to learn about her as well as learning about the husbandry of taking care of giant Pacific octopuses. There's a lot of information about there. Like all of the AZA organizations have a manual. So we all kind of try to follow the same guidelines and share what worked, what hasn't worked. So that was cool because it was like, oh, you actually have like a manual. And then I got to get to a point where I started working with, I had Octavia for a little bit, and then we had Nebula and Gamora. Nebula we named because she just looks like an alien. And then it just so happened that Marvel released a movie. Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm a huge fan. So I'm all about this. Yeah, I could tell you the whole plot right now, but we should probably focus.
Oh, no, yeah. We'll talk about that later. But no, so we just went from Nebula, who was feisty, just like Nebula is in the movie, but also this otherworldly, amazing, beautiful creature that you're like, this is an alien. So then we got Gamora, which was her alien sister, and they were 2 different people. I was like, do you guys know what your names are? Because your personalities match your names. Like we already had the name in mind. And Gamora was huge and big and strong. And then from there, we switched from like famous, punny names to we finally got a big male. And I knew the second I got this big male giant Pacific that I wanted to name it Jupiter because Jupiter is the greatest planet in our solar system. And what a cool, awesome name.
Yeah.
And he was the gentle giant that protected us like Jupiter does. He didn't really protect me from anything, but you engaged
from
with
all
him.
of the threats behind the scenes at the
from the cold water. No, you met him. He was gentle, docile, curious, but not feisty curious.
No, it was just curious.
He never pulled me whatsoever. He never was like trying to get one arm up on you, like he let you interact with him the way that you wanted to, and then never pushed that boundary. And to me, that was, everybody loved Jupiter, and he was the best octopus we have ever had. I'm sure we will have other great octopuses, but it was just showed what a beautiful, bright, quick life that they have and how incredible it is to connect with that type of an animal.
Yeah.
So Jupiter was my favorite, other than Octavia, because she was my OG.
Right.
Or original octopus.
As I literally put my head down on my microphone.
Yeah. But you know, you remember, I think earlier you had mentioned like, what's it like to like connect with animals and then kind of put them, you know, on exhibit or get away from them. Being with the giant Pacific octopuses was the perfect balance of getting a genuine connection with a wonderful creature. And also understanding and comprehending the shortness of their lifespan and how you can appreciate it within that without wanting to be selfish and having it be forever and for so long and in a certain way. You just got to enjoy that animal as a whole. That was poetic, what I just said, and I'm going to put it on my gravestone.
It was good. I like it. No, but it's so real. I mean, I literally remember meeting Jupiter for the first time and being told that I would have, you know, come back and like hang out again. And I was like, okay. And I know that they know you. I know that they have like touch memory. And so like, I'm actually building a relationship with this animal. And then I went back out on the road. And then I was told that, you know, it was time and I was nowhere near. And like, I had to relate, like, I'm emotional talking about it, you know, and I meet a ton of animals, but these ones that you get to build those connections with, and it was so fast. But I mean, that's their lifespan. It's not that's that's how it works.
The beauty of the tragedy of the beauty of them, you know, and I think tragedy would be even a bad word about it. That's just, that's what they are.
That's what they are. Yeah.
They are.
And I think it has to be because otherwise they would take over the world.
Yes.
They're
I think that all the time. I think we've even talked about that. Because people always ask, they're like, I wish that they lived longer. And I was like, no, I think that they would come for us. I think they would be our overlords.
Which I would be okay with. I mean, we couldn't do any worse than our current overlords.
But it would just be a lot of eating all the time. No, which who doesn't like doing that? No, I think a lot of people had a special connection with Jupiter. And you know, I think the other octopuses that we have had, kind of were at a disadvantage because we were closed, you know, during shutdown and all that. So like it might have been harder for other outside people to form connections with them. But I will say that Jupiter definitely left a suction cup on a lot of people's hearts.
Yes.
And I will talk about him for the rest of my life. But I love educating people that might not have thought that octopuses would be beautiful and amazing. And how many people have reached out and now send me videos about octopuses, you know, or like I have, you know, an octopus jewelry catcher and
Have you checked out like Soul of an Octopus or any of that?
I read that like 3 times. Yeah. Actually, that was really hard to read after I lost my first octopus. You know, it was the end of her life.
I know what you mean.
But,
I know what you mean.
But that was very emotional and beautifully written. And I have like 2 copies of it. Nice. I think I get it once every 5 years for Christmas kind of thing. And you know what? Sense. It's a book. I'll take as many books.
Yeah.
But that was so deep and so well written. Yeah. That I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not the only weirdo that is in love with octopuses. Yeah.
Very cool.
So Charlie.
Yes.
So fast forward. So Jupiter, I took care of Jupiter for a while and then we switched galleries like we do. And Kim ended up taking over and Kim is wonderful. And she really got like Jupiter to do some really cool things, you know? And so I didn't get to connect with Charlie when Charlie came in because I was off doing something else. But Charlie is funny and totally different than Jupiter. And like, I love that someone was able to experience taking care of Jupiter and then being like, okay, now I have this octopus that's totally different.
Right.
And I have to adjust what I'm doing and figure out what works well for Charlie. I love that we don't know if Charlie is a boy or a girl because to me, I'm like, okay, I've worked with a lot of octopuses. Let me guess. And I have a guess in my mind. Sometimes I say it out loud.
Can you say what it is? Saying that it's just a guess, saying that we don't know.
I think it is a female.
Okay.
Because of the way she uses that third arm. Most males would protect it.
Okay.
Jupiter started throwing his third arm around at the end of his life cycle when he was like, this is fine. But at first, I never really saw it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it'll be cool to see, you know, when Charlie passes, whether or not it's a male or a female. Because like, I'll be like, do I really know octopuses? Or am I just like guessing? Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So we'll see. But yeah, so Charlie is wonderful, beautiful, just like most octopuses, but doesn't know me that well. And it is funny to see because I'm like, well, I know who you are. And he's like, but I don't know who you are that well. Jupiter always lit up when I came back.
Right.
But so the good thing about whoever takes care of the octopus, it's always like an open invite to be like, go bond. If you want to do that, go socially interact because it's enriching for the octopus.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, I've had a really hard day. Can I just go? And you're like, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Or like, my cute new boyfriend's in town. Can we go show him that? Yeah. Or this weird podcast guy's here. Can we impress him? Yeah.
It works. I'm very impressed.
If Jason Kelsey wants to meet the octopus, he can come anytime. That would be my only celebrity I would stop everything for.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. You're definitely a big Eagles fan.
Yes.
I'm aware.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes. That's awesome. I am a Ravens fan.
Oh, that's not bad.
Because I was near Baltimore growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's hard to be here and not at least appreciate the Eagles.
Yes.
And,
Thank you.
Like when Jalen signed his big contract, I was like, cool. And now hopefully Lamar will do so. And then he did.
Yeah,
so we're getting places.
I went to a Ravens game this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Ravens Broncos.
Nice.
So it was cool. The stadium was fun. It was
it's a great stadium.
And the area Baltimore we were in was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah. I mean, we got an aquarium right there too.
Yes.
Just saying, but yeah, that's cool. So, we were talking about your love of unlovable creatures.
Oh, yes.
And I think that brings us to an interesting topic, which is you're actually dating someone here.
I'm dating a very lovable creature. But yeah.
And I think this is something that I always like to talk about on the podcast when it's a thing, because, you are either very in love or very good at faking it on social media.
I know.
I feel like I've never met Matt, but I feel like I know him. I don't have to look up his name. I know the guy. Yeah. I've seen him shirtless more times than I've seen myself shirtless.
Because we go to the beach a lot.
But I'm curious what it's like working with someone and then also being partnered with that person, living with them, and especially in a job. Now I know that he is on the other side of things,
more guest facing, you would say,
but at a job where there is compassion fatigue. And if there's one thing I've learned in this interview process of the last couple of years, it's that even everybody from gift shop to janitorial, everybody has a connection to the animals when they work at a facility.
Oh, yes.
It's insane. Yeah. So what is that like for you two? And how have you found ways to make it work?
Oh, I think we're going to publish a book about how we made it work because it works so well. But no, he started working here. A little backstory. He started working here because he wanted to work here. He loved working here. And then we had kind of met, but didn't date. And then he left to work somewhere else. And that's when we started dating.
Oh, interesting.
So he had this connection. It's not like we met here and flirted here or anything. We just met organically. And then when COVID happened, he ended up getting laid off and got brought back on. To me, that was one of the most attractive things, was that you can just get your job back from a place you left. And we both have a deep loyalty to this place and a deep passion for making it a better place and an enjoyable place. So it's fun to share that because we will be in the trenches together and, be talking about something ridiculous, but you don't even have to explain any background. We know exactly what we're talking about, and we help each other with problems. We help each other cope with things we can't change. And for me, it's the best part is just seeing him, just being able to smile at him. And he is always busy. I'm not always scheduled busy. Sometimes I can be I'm just feeding and then I'm going to go backwash, he's always Sam, I'm busy, and I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm going to go get a coffee real quick. What do you want? Yeah. But no, it's so refreshing to see him. And then at the end of the day, we will give ourselves a couple of, probably an hour to talk about work if we want to talk about it. Most of the time it's just sharing funny stories that happened.
Nice.
Or cool achievements that we did. And then we'll go, into a regular relationship and not talk about work. Because sometimes we'll be all right, we've talked about work enough. But yeah, how it works is that oh man, he's just really easy to love. He's so supportive. He loves what I do. And it's never a competition between whose job is harder or what is harder, because our ultimate goal is just to make this place better and to make our lives better.
That's good. And I think, in relationships in general, what I have found is that when you have skill sets or things that complement each other, it helps. one person's strength is another's weakness. And I'm not saying that it's a strength and weakness thing here, but when you think of the aquarium as a whole, you wouldn't have your job if there weren't guest services people doing the things.
No.
And he wouldn't have his job if y'all weren't keeping the animals alive. Both would be pretty bad for a lot of reasons.
It also,
and it's kind of similar, I guess.
It allows for better communication within the department too, because you have that compassionate side that like, this person isn't just my coworker. I do have a deeper relationship with him or whoever it is. And like, I have to understand that their frustrations are valid and our frustrations are valid. And the ultimate goal is to make this an enjoyable workplace. And I'm going to say this over and over again, and enjoyable for the guests. So like, that's the goal,
right?
Not winning an argument, not proving you're right, and in any relationship, but not proving somebody's wrong. It's what's our end game? Is it to better ourselves and better this place? Or is it to, not? And then I wouldn't be able to date someone like that. And I told him when he started working here, I said, if you end on a bad note, it'll be very hard for me to date you.
Yeah.
I was like, cause this is a place that I respect and this is my career. And if you don't pay my bills, no, but seriously, this place, this is my home. Yeah. I'm here a lot. But yeah, I talk about this a lot. I think it's opened up a good amount of communication and empathy within departments. And like even Lauren works on our social media team. And I know sometimes we'll be like, oh God, I don't know how I would say that. But we know Lauren is coming from the best place possible. And she will ask us if she is having a hard time articulating what she wants to say in a smart way and in an engaging way. And it really creates this well-working team, well-oiled team. Yes. Don't make me cry or anything like that.
We talked about it. We talked about it actually in Lauren's episode, but like, that's one thing that I literally notice when I'm here. Even before the interviews and stuff, it's that it's everyone's connected. And I gave her an example, but like, I've literally had people start following me and reach out and be like, hey, I work at Adventure and I talk to Sam, or I talk to, different other people who I know through here now. And like, they told me about you. They told me about your podcast. I'm listening. Thanks for doing whatever. And I'm like, these people really interact with each other. It's not like that at a lot of facilities. It might be like on a small team, but I rarely will have the experience of like an elephant keeper being like, oh, the red panda keeper told me about you. Now I'm excited, but here it's happened like an inordinate amount of times, which is cool and means the team is connected.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, I've definitely seen that at other facilities where I'm like, what do you mean you're not best friends with somebody on ticketing or something? And I hate to talk about like company culture because I feel like that's just like a word people throw out in order to sound good. But like, we do have a good company culture here that we try to cultivate. We also have a lot of people who leave and come back.
That's like really interesting.
If I wanted to pursue other opportunities, one of the biggest compliments and points of pride for me would be if I did that willingly in a good note. And if it didn't work out, or if something else opened up and they wanted me back, I would love it if they hired me back. I would feel so proud.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Just like Matt did,
Yeah, that is cool.
He was like, hey, I need a job. And they were like, yeah, come here. And then, and now he's a supervisor. Even though he is a supervisor, I still make fun of him because he's not technically above me. Even though I'm pretty sure he is. But I'm like, listen, you're not above me. No. We always laugh. So I'm like, you've been here for how long? I've been here for 10 years. Yeah.
And, speaking of which, you mentioned that your next step up would be into management.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Is that A, something you're interested in? And B, if so, something you think you'd be ready for? Because I will tell you, people husbandry is different than animal husbandry.
People husbandry is very different from animal husbandry. But I think, so 2 parts to that question. Oh, heck yes. I'm always looking to step up because that's just another achievement. And I always feel ready because I have the utmost confidence in myself in everything I do.
I am aware. Again, I've seen your social media pages.
But I do. Thank you. But I do think it's always going to be a cool, like, learning curve would be to step into a management role. And I think that any year that I've either like interviewed for the possibility or any year that the possibility has come up and I've seen somebody else step into that, I think that I'm ready. And then the next year comes and I'm like, oh, I wasn't ready, but now I'm more ready. And yeah, whatever they want. They want me to be president, I'll be president. No, just kidding. I could not do that. That's too much.
I mean, you say that now, but eventually you never know.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're here for the long haul if you can be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I always say, like, I'm invested in this company and vice versa. I sound like I'm being interviewed right now.
I mean, you are. It's literally called a podcast interview. No, I know.
Yeah. No, it would be an excellent achievement. But it is a thought that a lot of people have to think of is as at some point you do step away from the animals. So, you have to decide if you're ready for that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'd be ready with any opportunity that came my way.
That's very cool. I've been a music director and all kinds of things for a while now. I'm, normally one of like 2 or 3 people in charge on the road with most of the shows that I do. And I'm fortunate that I do still get to drum. It's the best of both worlds. Yeah. But I will tell you, the amount of times that I have had a week where we're prepping for a tour or something, and I've put in 40, 50 hours of work and have not looked at music or touched a drumstick. And I'm like, how am I in another freaking meeting right now? Like, it is very trippy. And I honestly don't think I could do it if I wasn't also still doing the drummy thing. And like you said, yeah, it means stepping away from the animals, but you're also here and talking to people from everywhere, from the, president of zoos to beginner keepers and stuff, has given me some interesting perspective on that. But I don't know. It's hard to walk away from your passion, but also you want to grow and like you're still in your passion.
When I think your passion grows with you and changes with you, because now, if you're in a management position, you would be like excited to coach people who were just like you, who were that eager, bright-eyed, wide-smiled, can I touch everything? Can I name it? Person. And then you get to kind of coach them into being their own sustainable biologist and manager, whatever. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
I love teaching people things. I think that's a lot of fun. I've got some new bioaids and they just rejuvenate your passion for it. Cause like you get a little jaded sometimes. You're like, oh, I gotta feed this again. And they're like, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, you know what? You are right. This is the best thing ever. Yeah. I'm going to go enjoy that with you.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Very cool. Yeah. Are there any conservation organizations that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I've got 2 that I want to do. One would be the Monterey Bay Seafood Watch program. I love what they do with making, sustainable seafood accessible to people so that you don't have to do the hard work. And every single time you go out to eat or figure out what you're trying to eat and you want to participate in eating seafood, they have an excellent organization. And then I'm actually here at our facility, I partake in the Nurdle Project, which is, if you've never heard of what a nurdle is, it's essentially a pre-plastic. I'm not describing it well, but it is small little pellets of plastic that is then melted down to make other products.
Okay.
And how it's like this pre-plastic is actually getting out into our environment. It's not just what you've already used, what's already been consumed, what's already been bought. These little like pellets, they look like pellet guns, are, spilling and ending up on our shoreline. So I collect them once a month. I go out and do surveys and count how many nurdles I find. I'm going to go down the shore this weekend and I'm sure I'll be looking there too, even though it's not an official collection. Right. That'll be part of my, let me see what I can find. Yeah.
Interesting.
So the Nurdle Project, NURDLE. Thank you. Okay. I almost had to write it out. Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know about that at all. Also, you can tell that you are a confident person when I'm like, hey, any conservation organizations? And you're like, well, I do this. I'm the conservation organization.
I just took it over. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. And then it is time. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
Oh, my poop story. Poop story. Okay, so I have 2. And the first one is a quick one that I'm sure a lot of people have gone through. But I was using an animal on our up close stage. So it was this Asian spotted turtle. I've never seen this thing. I've never worked with it. I got the fact sheet. I got trained how to hold it and what to do with it. And I'm on the stage. I am 23, fresh out of school. And it just goes to the bathroom all down my leg. And not a little bit, like full drench, run into my sock in shorts in front of guests. And I was just like, oh, this is my life now. Got it. Got it. I did not know this. You don't see on TV. Yeah. So that was my first story. And then my second one is, I believe it was Octavia. She had just been moved into this new enclosure that normal octopus enclosures have lids and a lock on them, but our one has AstroTurf all around the top to make it inescapable, essentially. But somehow there was poop in the weirdest spots outside of the exhibit, on the AstroTurf, on lighting fixtures, that I'm like, is she escaping at night? Because like you hear those urban legends, you're like, what is going on? Like, do I need to set up a camera? And nope, she wasn't escaping anything. One day I just saw her shoot her poop out of her siphon, out of the water, and just drench the back wall. And octopus poop looks like confetti strings, or what would you call that? Streamers.
Okay.
And it was dangling from the light fixture.
Oh,
I have no idea why she was doing this, but instead of, it's not like she was walking out and leaving it. She was shooting it. Target practice. I don't know.
That's amazing.
She's keeping it clean. Yeah, she doesn't want that in her house. And I'm like,
That's
thank God I've
amazing.
never been in the splash zone before,
Yeah.
because that would be so embarrassing. Yeah. So there's my octopus poop story. Poop story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, can we go hang out with Charlie?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's do that.
Let's do
yeah.
it.
Cool,
Thanks.
cool.
Yeah, and that turned into quite the adventure. We get it, Adventure Aquarium. I did not do that on purpose, but I'm happy. Yeah, we went and we hung out with Charlie the octopus, and because of that amputation, not quite sure if Charlie is male or female, but Charlie is all kinds of awesome. I can tell you that much. And it's just so amazing to spend time with an octopus. It is a creature unlike anything else that, I've ever gotten to encounter on this planet. It's really astonishing. And then it was Sam's lunchtime, which she gave up a whole lot of to take me back to her secret lair and show me all of the various animals that she's taking care of right now. And it's really cool to see, and really amazing how adaptive Sam needs to be in this job, and just how she can fall in love with different creatures back there and then like send them out on exhibit and find other creatures to love. And it was just a really cool time. So I'm really grateful to Sam for all that time. Really grateful to Lauren for not only being an amazing guest, but also for setting me up with these interviews, and just for always being there to support the pod and shoot the poop, whether we're online or texting or whatever. The Adventure Aquarium team is a real special one, and I hope y'all consider checking them out the next time you're in the Philly or Camden area. And trust me, y'all, it is worth a trip to go. And you can hit up Elmwood Park Zoo and the Philadelphia Zoo, Brandywine Zoo. They're all pretty close. Lehigh Valley Zoo. It's a really good area if you're into accredited facilities. So with all of that said, don't forget to tune back in on Friday for this week's Zoo News episode. And let me take a quick moment here to say thank you to all of my patrons, especially Dr. Laura Schenk and Dr. Stephen Williamson, my Red Panda level patrons. You can support the pod for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. And remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Stider. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari, or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.